Okay, so interestingly enough, today I decided to actually take the opposite tack. Last time I took a look at the maybe what was considered the rougher video first. Today I'm going to take a look at what you've kind of described as the more successful search. And based on your notes, first place, all the hides, all that kind of stuff, definitely a very successful search. I just kind of gave a quick perusal to both of them before I decided which way to go. Again, I try to do these as sort of cold as I can. That way, I'm not really like Monday morning quarterback, sort of dissecting it frame by frame. I just feel like my feedback's a little bit more fair if I try to be a little bit more in the moment. So, that being said, let us begin. You mentioned how windy that it was during this search, and there are several times during it that I see a lot of, leaves and debris blowing about. So, I definitely get that. Coming up here, it turns out that we end up, I guess, not having any hides on these picnic tables. And I think that it was definitely a smart move to try to approach these from what I have to assume is the downwind side. So, meaning you're working into the wind, giving your dog that wind advantage. And I can even see your dog's nose coming up a few times, which is really, really good. I think that the search of the tables is a little bit loosey goosey, but that being said, ultimately you end up pretty much covering everything. And I totally get it that, time is in fact a factor. You have to consider all that. So before you wander off of here, I also totally get that you said that you couldn't come back. Um, if this were a nosework 1, 2, 3, anything like that, I would have said, are you sure you don't want to give it another check? But at this level, we don't have time for that kind of stuff. So I think you made a really, really good decision. And something that I'm going to talk about more in detail later. One of the teaching topics that I cover is, that if your dog has good odor obedience, and you trust that if it encounters odor, it's going to do something about it. And you also trust that you're going to see it when it happens. Well, after you've searched that environment and your dog has had every fair opportunity to encounter odor, then move along. It could be blank. It could be that there's nothing in that area. So trying to come into the search with as minimal expectations as we can have and allowing our training and our talent and our craft to really shine through, which I feel like you did a nice job of there. So, well done. Let's continue on. Oh my goodness, you could not ask for a more distracting and challenging search environment. If we look at those fans in the background spinning, I'm assuming they're not on because you said it was quite cold and had snowed. The way that those things are spinning tells us that there is a considerable amount of wind moving through there, and it's a bit of a wind tunnel, right? And then we also have these waste management cans and dumpsters which, hey, look, unless they're coming through and disinfecting them, have ridiculous amounts of distractions as far as odor is concerned. For the sake of leash handling, line handling, what is it that I would do at this point? Well, I tend to work on the left hand side because I'm a right handed person. I tend to work my dog on the left hand side. That's not necessarily the correct way to go about it for everyone. That's just how I learned how to handle. So I just give you that background information because I would have started this the same way that you did. I would have gotten in here, hit this corner. I would have tried to make sure my dog tucked back into that other side. And certainly if the dog didn't tuck in there, I would have applied a circling technique to make sure that we did. Searchy, 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 all the way down here. If there are any spaces between the dumpsters, and I don't know that there are, I would make sure that we cast back into them. And then I'm going to go ahead and run down this way. Yeah, that's how I would have done it. Now, strategically speaking, though, of course, with this insane wind that you have, had I thought that I had the time, then I would have loved the opportunity and the ability to come back and do this. I can say this also because it's really easy to say, well, hey, Bob, we just don't have that kind of time. And I totally get it. But as we look at this video again, um, have an open mind to considering, hey, if you were to work in such a way, would you have saved a little bit of time in some places, which would have bought you that remaining time to check back? It's gosh, how do I say? It's not me saying that my way is better or correct. I'm simply saying, hey, it's something to consider. And if you have the opportunity, hey man, grab those multiple angles on the wind. As it turns out, we know that you guys do a fantastic job and you get first place here. So there you go. Really fantastic job working down there. The dog tucks up inside that corner, which is really nice. And so it's right there that I would have applied that slight circling technique. It's kind of like what I do with vehicles, and I think that I had a brief opportunity to talk about that on the that one ice rink video you showed me. So when my dog bounced off this way, um, to me personally, I think that's a little more than a slight divergence. And I can't feel the wind. I don't know 100% what it's doing. But when my dog tucked off that way, I would have went ahead and applied a circle and gotten right back on task. And certainly, and we find out that there is, certainly were there an odor there, I'm going to get it when I get here. Um, so I would have got it, maybe a little bit later, but I would have definitely known that this was searched and I wouldn't have to go back. Hopefully, anyways. So there we go. So you do kind of try to get dog back onto task. Very, very nice. Excellent. Off we go. Continuing to eliminate those elements. He bounces off again. And is it because of target odor? It looks like it is. You see that nose coming up. I would suspect that there's increased sniffing. There's a little look. So you had mentioned about how, his specific alert behavior, maybe it's a little harder to read. Let's see the timing again. Sniff, sniff, sniff. Look, there's your alert. What a nice, energetic dog. Lots of drive, lots of energy. I can't say that I totally disagree with your decision to then go ahead and finish that side. Dog decided to go ahead and diverge off to the right. Well, hey, I'm here. Let's not waste any steps. Let's go ahead and knock it out. So I totally agree with you on that. And now you're able to go ahead and finish the other side. Really, I can't offer you any corrections or advice about that. I feel like you handled that really, really well. Nicely, nicely done. The dog's working hard in a really, tough and challenging environment. So we're going to go back to there. You know that's odor you've already encountered, so you get the dog back to work. Very well done. So oh, there we go. There's the second one. There's the look back. I know, and this may be a moot point for me to point out, but I know you're not a fan of the harness. Another small point that I didn't have an opportunity to indicate the other day is that when we do work a harness, the connection point is up here, and so sometimes some of that leash tangle doesn't happen as much. Now your leash handling is really quite good, so it's a very small point, just something that I saw, that's all. So very nice. There's the look back and a return to you also. So that's something to consider. I'm curious, and maybe you can tell me, does this particular dog tend to come off of odor? Is it when you say alert? Is it before? Hopefully it's not until after. I would love to see the dog just stay with odor until you get there with the reward to release. But I do know, some very experienced and accomplished handlers who don't do that. Dog continues to search all the way down here. That looks really, really good. All the way through. And you're done. Judge says, exit that way, please. What I want to point out is that I really enjoy the confidence that you have all the way through this search. So all the way from back here, regardless of the wind and everything, you have a great deal of confidence in your dog's nose. Even though there are some minor opportunities maybe to look to tighten it up a little bit, there's really very little for me to add as far as that. I think that you had some sort of a game plan in your mind and you had that willingness to follow your dog's nose, which is totally fine, um, as long as you're getting everything covered and that dog has an opportunity to encounter the target odor. But your confidence in your dog's nose really shines through in this search, and I'm very, very fond of that. So I appreciate that. And then we get over here, and I rambled on a little bit how I'd love to see you work this environment as efficiently as possible, and you did a really, really nice job. There was that slight divergence off to the right hand side, and even though maybe I might not have handled that exactly the same, I feel like we probably would have gotten to the same result. But you did get to that result, and that was also very well done. Not allowing the rigors of the trial and all of the sort of pressures and everything to get to you shines through in your mature handling, because even though you did diverge off of your plan, you then do go ahead here and finish that side. A lot of people out of habit would have then turned around and run it in the same direction again, but you didn't do that, which is really, really nice. I really hope that the judge gave you some very fine comments and responses on your score sheet, because this is a super nice search. I wish I had more sort of detailed instruction to offer you, um, but that just wouldn't be truthful. In truth, I see that your line handling is good, your footwork is good, your dog has nice odor obedience. And just those couple of minor points that I made are really all I can find in here. So my best instruction to you now would be continue doing this, because it's very nice. So congratulations to you on that. It's a very nice search. And I'm off to take a look at what ultimately ended up getting labeled Slaughterhouse. So I'll see you there.